Guys, gals, and friends, everybody listening, welcome to episode 31 of The Dre Show, the current state of rank and rent. Now, this is going to be a little bit different. I'm not doing this live. I'm not doing this live because as you are watching this, I am deep in the villages and in the bush, as they call it, of Africa. I am in a village 5 hours from the capital city, and I don't even know if I'm going to have cell phone reception or I don't know. I've never been to this part of the country, so this is the only way we could make this work, is by doing a pre-recording. And I am really excited because I am going to be bringing on a special guest for this one, so you guys hang tight. I'm going to be bringing on a special guest, and we're going to be going over and talking about the current state of rank and rent. But I'm going to give a quick intro on this person, bring them on, and we're going to rip. I want to save as much time as possible to ask them questions. I'm going to be bringing on a special guest today. His name is James, and you guys, if you follow me, you've probably seen his content. And James and I met, I don't know how long ago, over a year ago. And it wasn't one of those crazy meetings or chance meetings. I was seeing his content. I was creating my own content. I was seeing his own content. And I said, I listened to a few of his videos. I said, hey, this guy knows what he's talking about. So I think I subscribed to his channel, and then I direct messaged him on, I think it was Instagram. Maybe no, it was Facebook. And I said, hey, like your videos. And what do you think about just chopping it up and talking about rank and rent? So he agreed. I know he was thinking the whole time, what's the angle? What's the angle? What's the angle? But we got in the meeting and I was really straight with him. I said, look, I don't have an angle. I want to find out what your goals are, what you're trying to do with rank and rent. I'll tell you what mine are. And if there's some overlap, there's some overlap. If there's not some overlap, there's not. But I just wanted to have a conversation. I love your videos. And he's like, I respect that. And that's just kind of how the relationship started. And he and I have, been building our relationship ever since. So that led to, we said, hey, let's hop on a live. Let's have a conversation just about rank and rent in general. And is it dead? That was our conversation. Maybe you guys have seen that video. I'm going to try and link it up in somewhere on this post or on this live, so you guys can check that one out. It's our first conversation we did on his channel. So I said, hey, it's my turn to host you on my channel. So I thought, what a better way than to bring him onto the Dre Show. Okay. So let me go ahead and bring James on, and let's freaking rip.
Hey, my man.
There he is. What's going on, bro?
What's going on?
How's over there? I can't even remember where you're at.
Can you hear me right now or no?
Yeah, I can hear you. You were slightly choppy for a second, but I'm hearing you a lot better now.
Okay. Right now I'm actually in Austin, Texas.
Beautiful.
Yeah, Beautiful. It's nice out. It's a beautiful morning.
Awesome. Well, dude, I really appreciate you making time. I know you're like on vacation stuff, but I appreciate you making time. So we are actually already recording, so we're just gonna get right into it, dude. I'll let you get back to your game, okay?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
So, guys, you're watching. By the way, I told everyone that this is obviously a pre-recording, and I'm going to be, by the time people are watching this, I'm going to be deep in the bush of Africa, and I'm calling the title of this conversation "The Current State of Rank and Rent." You and I had a conversation about a year ago, and I think the theme was, is rank and rent dead? If I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep.
So today I want to, since you're somebody who has a lot of experience in digital and affiliate and specifically rank and rent, and I've been doing this for how many years, thought it'd be really fun to talk about the current state of rank and rent. Because, people, there's some people that think that it's saturated. Some people think that it's dead. And so I just have a list of questions, if you're okay with that. That's some talking points. Yeah. And we'll just go through it, dude. How's that work?
Let's do it, man.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's go.
First and foremost, for those that haven't seen our other interview, our little conversation that we did about a year ago, give everyone kind of like the background on you and your career and how rank and rent was involved and played a part in that?
Yes. So about 12 years ago, I own my own home improvement company in New York. Over there, I and just to make a long story short, I saw the opportunity of online advertisement because I was a contractor at the time that kind of struggled with good with sales, but where are the leads coming from? And back then, a big thing was like paper advertising, extremely expensive. So we would spend thousands of dollars a week that to put paper advertisement out there. It goes door to door, and you get calls from that and stuff. But that's really when I came across someone at the time online that was like, "Hey, I have an SEO agency." He actually, the guy was a pilot before that. He quit his job being a pilot because he was making six figures selling SEO. So long story short, I learned SEO from him, and I started implementing it, just testing things out on local business sites that I was building. And I was also at the time, the first money I ever made online was affiliate. So at the I had that shiny object syndrome where I was seeing so many things when I jumped down that rabbit hole of online. I'm like, oh man, affiliate, oh, local SEO, right? But because
Oh shit.
fastest way to make money though, like a good amount of money was local SEO.
Mhm.
You still got me or no?
Yeah, you clipped a little bit, but you're good now. Go ahead.
Is it my internet or yours? Because it looks like my internet's strong.
Yeah, dude. I mean, if we're guessing here, I'm sitting in West Africa, so I'm gonna guess
All
it's
right.
fine. So we're gonna, dude. It is what it is, but it's the laptop lifestyle, man. So just keep going. You're totally good.
Um, so yeah, so I went down that rabbit hole of local SEO, learned everything I can about it, started just signing up clients like most agency owners do, right? Like I would just meet people at coffee shops, I would cold call people. I was doing that. I didn't really have a structure at that time. I was just like, hey, just sell people this package, $500 a month, 300. I mean, I was selling things at $300 a month at the time. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was just trying to sign people up. And then at the time, me and my buddy, who's my partner at local agency that we started, which was My Media Pal back then, we said, hey, what if we rank the sites, because we got really good at ranking sites, and just sell the leads to people? And that's what kind of opened the door to Rank and Rent. There wasn't even a name of Rank and Rent at the time, to be honest with you. It was just, hey,
What year
leads to
was this,
people. What if
dude?
we can?
What year?
That was probably 2013 or 14.
Yeah, that sounds right, dude, because that's about the time when, like, where I first kind of the some of the programs and stuff that I first took, that's when those people originally started. So you were like one of the guys that, like, oh, I didn't, like, I heard about, oh, this is a model, but you were like, okay, why don't we just keep the asset, sell the lead?
And at that time, I didn't go through any training. I've been through plenty of, and I think it's a good thing to do. Like educate yourself, invest in yourself, invest in training. And I've been through plenty of SEO training, but at the time there was really nothing on training and ranking. And it was just, hey, let's just try to sell the leads, and it worked. Our business ended up moving from, we were still signing up local SEO clients. My partner was also really good with paid ads. So what he ended up getting, and listen, there's a lot of lessons learned up and downs, because we picked the wrong, like we went into some really competitive spaces that not have been in, because it takes so long to rank. And with paid ads, you know this, it's the cost per click is insane, right? But we made it work, and we made good money through that journey.
That's awesome, dude. So you kind of organically fell into Rank and Rent and discovered the model kind of on its own. And of course, there were probably other people doing it and realizing it, but it's amazing to me. Like I had somebody, I think it was on this YouTube channel, and they commented and they said, I've been doing SEO for like 5 years. And they said, I never thought about it this way. It's so smart. And I'm like, I wish I could take credit for inventing the business model, but I can't. But yeah, it's like you can just own the asset, sell the lead. You're doing the exact same backlinks. You're doing the same content. You're doing all of it. I don't think anyone that's watching this interview has to be convinced that this is a great business model, but it's still worth noting that there are still people in 2023 doing SEO that don't know about rank and rent, which is fascinating to me.
Yeah, and I would say too, like SEO alone, that skill is amazing. Like you can make money from your laptop. Think about it, selling SEO. But, and I like to be very transparent, I've made plenty of money selling SEO, and I still do specific things with SEO. But with the client journey, I mean, there was a time where we lost probably almost $30,000 a month in recurring revenue from clients because we didn't have the right, the truth, we didn't have the right system and structure in place, and we were selling anyone anything. If you were a plumber, we'll sell you SEO. If you were a hairdresser, we'll sell you SEO, right? And I think, you know, it was a lesson learned is like, hey, you should be very niche specific.
Uh-oh, guys. James is going frozen. Okay, here's what we're gonna do since James went a little bit cold on us, and maybe it is on his end, which would be a little bit bananas. But I'm gonna make a quick interjection and note on this. And if he's still not unfrozen by the time I finish this thought, I'm going to pause and we're gonna start the recording again. In fact, you know what I need to do? Let me go ahead and I'm going to just push him out of here. I'm gonna remove him. Give me a second. Okay. So James, he had already been removed. James had a really, he said something really interesting, and I want to, I was going to say this regardless of if he was on or not, but so he said that when he first started, he was selling SEO to everybody, right? He was selling hairdresser, he was selling the plumber, he was selling this, selling that. I did the same thing. I had the restaurant client, I had this client, I had that client, I literally had these really random clients doing random stuff. And in the beginning, you need that money, you want that bread, man. So it doesn't matter. And you're just like, you're grabbing. And then you realize it's so hard to keep learning new niches. And even though you're trying to apply the same principles to every niche that you're in, every new niche you go in, you don't know the keywords. You don't know the way that people search. You don't know the nuances of that specific niche. And so when you stay in one niche, not only is it easier for you and can you provide a better service, but it allows you to land bigger clients. It allows you to be an authority in the space and charge bigger retainers, whether you're doing SEO or lead generation. And it doesn't mean you need to be stuck in one specific, but I would stick to as few as possible. That's why I always talk about, I've made my money in concrete, tree service, spray foam insulation, duct cleaning. That's the core, and artificial grass. Those are my core freaking niches. Now, of course, I've got the cactus removal, this, and a little bit of this, a little bit of that. This is where I've made my money. And that is because it makes way more sense to focus on a niche and go vertical. Okay, James, perfect timing. It's like he knew. Let me go ahead and try it again. He's gonna come back in. It's like he knew. James. All right, bro. So we're gonna keep rolling, dude. This is the thing. People know I'm in Africa. It's part of the game. And if it happens again, for the heck of it, because it could be, try shifting to somewhere that's a different. Is that what you did? Did you move spots or are you in the same spot?
I did, but
okay, we'll see how it goes. Let's keep.
Shift, but my connection's strong. I don't know if it's you or
I'm telling you right now, it's mine, dude. We're in Africa. I just mentioned after you hopped off, I just rolled into it and said, hey, that's the beauty of staying in one niche is that it's easier to market, right? It's easier to do what you've done because you know the keywords, you know what the buying habits, you know the nuances, which means you provide a better service, but also allows you to land bigger clients for more money because you are the expert with expert case studies, et cetera, et cetera. So, all right, dude, I got to get into some questions in case the internet, you never know it's going to go out. So let's just jump right in. Very first question. Did Epstein kill himself? I'm just kidding, bro.
Definitely not.
I'm just kidding. I think anyone that's watched that would hopefully answer that way. Okay. No, but for real, is rank and rent still an amazing business model. If somebody's on the internet right now, there's a lot of ways to make money. And that's the beautiful thing. You get online, you're like, oh, I can make money. I could sell GMBs. I could sell reviews. I could white label software. I could do, there's so many ways to make money. But is Rank and Rent in 2023 still an amazing business model for someone that hasn't started yet? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, I think it's one of the best online business models, hands down. And again, I've done a lot of different things. I got my hands in a lot of different things. I would say there's two things. If you're doing affiliate marketing, I think is one of the ultimate best online businesses, but there's a lot that goes into that. And the second one right behind that is Rank and Rent. If you want to make quick money, of course, if you understand the skill of SEO, you can make quick money by selling it. But if you're smart, you do Rank and Rent. That business model, hands down, is just a smarter way to do that.
My opinion is that if you need to get out of your job, buy your time back quick, go get, go find, if you need $10,000, go get $10,000 in SEO, take care of your SEO clients Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then you just bought 2 days back and now go and start scaling your Rank and Rent, or, I know you do some affiliate stuff, whatever your main thing is, but SEO is a great way to get quick cash. I just don't think from a long-term, from someone that's done it for years, the clients always cancel, dude. Always at some point, right?
I have, what's amazing is I have a few clients that have been with me for 9 years, but
that's crazy.
What some of those situations, what I did is I also leveraged, like for one guy's a home builder, right? What I did is I understood, like, okay, he loved what we were doing SEO wise. And when I'm like, where do you make your most money? And he might say, oh, kitchens. Or what you could do, a light bulb goes up, like, hey, let me go build out a lead gen site around that one niche for him, and then negotiate, like, yes, I'm working on your site, but for an extra whatever a month, 1,000 a month, I'm going to give you all these estimates that are what you love. You say you love kitchen, I'll give you, 10 more extra estimates a month, right? So you could also think that way, and now it builds the relationship even stronger, because if you have to obviously deliver, but if you are delivering and they're making money, they're not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere.
Dude, today, 2 hours ago, I made a YouTube video about this exact same strategy that I'm gonna. I talked about it, and literally that's the game. Is if you're gonna go do SEO, that's the way. It's an insurance policy. Take some of your profits, go and do the research. Don't just go build one. Make sure it's low competition. Make sure it's got low CPC if you're going to run my strategy. Go and build a lead gen site, or even a one pager without them even knowing. Generate a lead or two. Call them up. Call her up. Offer it to them. Who's going to say no? They already trust you. They already like you. They already know you. You're going to immediately double your revenue or more if you know how to charge correctly, you know how to price correctly. And like you said, more than anything, you're ensuring that that deal sticks longer than a year or 6 months or whatever, because they're going to be afraid if they call you and want to cancel the SEO, you're going to rip away the leads. And you could. Yep. I've had people call me and say, hey, we want to get rid of the SEO. This is back when we did SEO and we were transitioning more into just lead gen. And I remember a specific guy that I said, well, they're a package deal, bro. So if you want to get rid of one, I'm getting rid of this, because my lead gen was kicking ass, dude. It was crushing. So I was like, I know I have leverage. It's getting a ton of leads. And so he ended up continuing the SEO. I kind of had him by the balls, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. Listen, I lost plenty of money from just clients quitting, right? It's a sexy number when you're like, oh, I have an SEO agency, we're doing, multiple 6 figures a year, but the truth is, yeah, but what's really going on behind closed doors, right? It's like when you're just signing everyone up. I mean, we had insane niche. Like I had someone who did lice removal, right? Like we were selling SEO to anyone. And guess what? At any time, 5 or 6 of them, they could stick around for 12 months. They might be like, we're just going to stop this. We're going to try this. And it's like, boom, you could just lose 10K like that in a month, right?
It was so hard for me to predict, and I never slept well, dude. Every time I went on vacation, I remember coming to Africa and I would go out during the day. I didn't have internet, and I would come back and I would turn on my Wi-Fi, and I was just like terrified that I had a message or an email from a client that said, hey, we need to talk. And I was like, oh no. So I didn't sleep well. And the point where I was like, I'm done is when I was at Disneyland, dude, or maybe it was SeaWorld. I was down in California and I got a call from a client that's paying me $4,000 a month. And that $4,000 a month at that time meant that's a lot of money to anybody, but at that time really meant a lot. And dude, I lost a deal while I was there. And I'm like, it just ruined the whole trip, man. I'm like, I can't live like this, dude.
I've gotten those calls. Yep.
Sucks, dude. So anyway, okay, moving along. Do you think rank and rent? This is a question I always get. Do you think it's saturated, bro? I'm too late. It's 2023. I should have jumped in earlier. Yeah, you should have. But do you think rank and rent is saturated? By the way, James and for everyone watching this, I didn't call him before and say, dude, you need to answer these. If you disagree or have a different opinion, I think it's great. I'm not trying to tee him up and he has to, hit it out of the park. I'm just asking, like, if we were sitting there having a drink, what is your honest thoughts? Is it saturated?
It's not saturated at all. Actually, I just think you have to get smart at picking niches, right? And what I like to do, we run a lot of case studies, so we launch different sites. And one of the things actually that we launched recently is a concrete site in the Orlando area, and we were already getting leads, right? And this was a niche that I actually, a light bulb went off actually from you. And I was like, let's just test this niche out. Let's just throw up a site. Let's get a verified listing. And again, I don't use paid advertisement anymore. I know that's one of the things that you teach. And I think it's genius. People should do that. If you can leverage that skill, definitely. We're just leveraging organic SEO. And I want to get the data back because I teach SEO as well. So we're just looking at, all right, we're going to implement our SEO techniques. Let's see what happens. And boom, we're already getting leads. So it's definitely not saturated, right? It's just picking the right niche.
And I mean, this is what I'm always like saying, if you guys want to prove this correctly, or if you want to prove me wrong or test this out, go like, just as kind of like a pulse check, go and ask 10 people, 10, even business people, like, hey, do you know what rank and rent is? Or do you know what local lead gen or whatever the term you want to use? And 9 out of 10 are going to say, what are you talking about? What? Rank and rent? And it's like, what? You don't know what that is? And then you go, okay, let me explain it. And you go, okay, imagine you build these simple little websites, you rank them on Google because you're in small cities or relatively small cities. In most cases, it doesn't take a lot. You're in non-competitive niches and you're going to make 80-90+% profit. And it's all on autopilot. It's not 100% passive, but it's pretty semi-passive. And you tell those same 10 people, every single one of them is going to go, dude, that's really smart. That's a really smart business model. So that tells me, okay, that like, if you said to 10 people today, do you know what drop shipping is? Dude, everybody knows what drop shipping is. I think you could argue drop shipping saturated, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I do not. Listen, of course, you can make money in drop shipping. It's not something that I would say is easy because of the saturation and just you have less control. You definitely have less control.
That's the biggest piece, dude. I think in my opinion, there's so many of these boxes that rank and rent checks, right? Like it's online, obviously. It's scalable. It is recurring. It is low barrier to entry. It doesn't cost a lot to spin up a site, especially if you're doing the pre-selling method. You know how to run ads. You can get literally a couple $100, land a client, boom, they're paying for the whole thing. But out of all those things, the piece that is the most sexy and the most attractive is the fact that that you have control, that it is asset based, and you just can't argue that. You know what I'm saying? Compared to, in fact, I was just really listening to a podcast of somebody that's big in drop shipping, and you know what I was listening. I don't even know this guy's last name. There's there's like a couple of like those younger, like really on YouTube influencers. There's like they're like the younger brother to the Andrew Tate, like Iman Godsey and these guys, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So it was this guy named Sebastian, crazy last name. I've seen a few of his videos, and he was getting interviewed by somebody, and apparently he made a lot of his money in drop shipping. Didn't know this, never even heard this guy's story. And I screen recorded. I'll have to share this. But they're like, yeah, so what about drop shipping? Why are you bouncing around and all? Because he has like all these businesses. He's like, well, yeah, I like drop shipping, but he's like, it's so many moving pieces and it's such a headache. He like literally this guy that's made all this money is saying that that's the case. And Guys, I think a lot of us, if you're on this channel or you follow James or you follow me, like we want to make money so that we can go and do what we want to do, not so that we can freaking spend 60 hours a week managing this and that and systems and that. And it's like, dude, there's a lot of ways to make money, man. One of the beautiful things about online is that you can go and do other stuff once it's set up. So I'm with you, dude. Rank and rent, we're just getting started. Do you think there's going to be a saturation point? Like, do you think there's going to be a point where it does get saturated?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I just think there's too many niches to, if you're smart about it, again, and learn from others. One of the mistakes I've made is I went into very competitive niches. And also, I'm from New York, so I was also in that area. I'm actually ranking on page 1 for like roofing and like in a very competitive area. So if I can do that, you start taking whatever you implemented on that and you do it in something like a small city somewhere, it's a joke, like
Totally.
it's a joke. So
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. I've said that exact verbatim. Is like I don't people don't understand what we're talking about. I think the problem is we don't know what rank and rent is. We hear about it from one of your videos, one of my videos, podcast interview. We're like, oh, cool, and then they start going on the internet, and then all of a sudden YouTube's feeding them this content, and they get into a couple of groups, and maybe they buy a program, and all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, everyone's doing it. You're like, dude, we're talking about this micro tiny corner of the internet of like a subset of I can't imagine it's got to be less than 50,000 people. I mean, I'm just thinking about some of the groups that I mean, it's nothing, dude, compared to the amount of businesses and how many businesses are coming online. How many niches have we not, dude? I'm making $1,500 a month in cactus removal right now, and I have been for 3 years. It's like, dude,
that's what I'm saying. Stuff like that you would never really even think of. I mean, that's just a smarter way to approach it, right? Don't jump into roofing. It's funny too. I'll say it, don't go into roofing. And what do people do? They jump into roofing. And it's like, I'm not saying there's no money there, but it's you're just doing yourself no good by jumping into something so competitive, because especially with my approach with the organic SEO, I know you're not ranking for roofing terms in a major city overnight. You're just not. And if you could, I would love to see that. But the truth is you're not. So cactus removal, it's like, I would never even think of that. But if you could start throw a site up, you probably rank it within a month for something like that. I'm just guessing.
in big cities too.
Yeah. And boom, you're getting calls now. And then you just right from there, really the skill is sales.
Yeah.
Right from there, it's sales.
It's so true, dude. It's and I mean that's just one example. And the only reason I knew about that is I had a client I was selling concrete leads to that also had another business. And when they told us about it, I literally was playing golf and my sales guy called me and he goes, "Hey, so and so he wants to do this. He wants more leads, but he wants it in this kind of weird niche." And he was like hesitant because he thought I was going to be pissed because he's like, "I kind of already did the deal." And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "Cactus removal." I'm like, "Oh boy." Here we go. I'm like, well, let's just tell him that there's these associated risks. Dude, it's crushing it. So, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but for those that are like, oh, I wish I would have gotten started in 2014. So do we all. I wish I knew today what I know today in 2014. Oh my gosh. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So, but people also they start seeing, they're like, oh, I was looking at this concrete. I was looking at Knoxville, Tennessee concrete, and I saw some other lead generators. Well, no crap. I'm talking about concrete. Other people are talking about concrete. Specific niches, you're going to see that they're going to get more saturated with local lead generators, but you're also assuming that just because somebody has a website on page 1 that they have a client. That's not ever, or that's not always the case. And a lot of times it's often not the case. So anyway, saturation, I get that question all the time. I thought that'd be fun to talk about. What's your least favorite niche? Do you say niche or niche?
I say niche, but yeah, everybody says it different. I say niche.
It doesn't matter. I just didn't know because you're from New York. I don't know if it was like that was more of like I say niche sounds more natural, but I've slipped and said niche. And so anyway, what's your least favorite niche?
I would say probably, and it's not that I don't like these niches. It's just I just think they're too competitive, like plumbing. I think everyone's been jumping into that. So years ago, if you're smart about it too, so I think it was hot water heater repair, like stuff like that. If you're smart and you're going after terms like that, that's the smarter way to approach. But most people just go plumber in New York City. It's like, okay, that's very competitive, right? I don't think it's a good approach to go into the big niches in big cities. And so it's not that I don't like the niches. It's just I stay away from those and even my teaching. And I am in some of those niches, but I've been in there a long time, and it's just a different beast, right? So, and if you have the resources and the budget to go and rank in those, that's one thing. But if you're starting out, just be smart. Don't do what I did. Don't jump into roofing. Don't jump into plumbing, right? Be smart about it, right? Like do your research, do the due diligence, and get into smarter niches and with cities with smaller populations. And if you do that, you can scale so much faster, so much faster.
I did the same thing. I accidentally got into this niche called basement waterproofing. And I say accidentally because I literally knocked on somebody's door to sell them a home security system at the first, when I was starting to learn this stuff. And I got in, and this guy was doing basement waterproofing. And luckily, or fortunately or unfortunately, this city that he was in, that we were in at the time, wasn't super competitive for this specific service. And so I actually ended up ranking without knowing a whole lot, and the deal actually worked out. So I naively assumed, oh, this is a great niche, it's untouched. What I didn't know is that these big ticket, that's like a 10, 20, sometimes $30,000 job, they attract big money. People that pay big marketing budgets, big ad campaigns, companies that have their own marketing company for their franchise of basement waterproofing companies. And so I did the same thing, dude. And I built a ton of sites in this niche and got my ass handed to me, dude, like bad. Like I lost, I imagine over $100,000 on, and I'm talking about like a lot of sites, man. So go into stuff that's not, don't go into plumber, don't go into roofing, don't go into solar, don't go into basement waterproofing. Be a little bit like, just take a little bit of thought with what you're doing. So anyway,
And I think there is like the cactus removal. I think there's these hidden niches too that you can, again, you just come by it. And actually, I have one of the students, he has like a jet ski rental site that crushes it, right? But you got to be in the right location. But it's something that but I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like, and he implemented, and he ranked within like 2 months too, because again, a lot of the SEO that's done is not that effective out there. And agencies that are selling big SEO packages to businesses, they really don't do anything. They're not doing much. Like they get you in a contract, and monthly, if I look at, I'll analyze the sites, I'll run them through Ahrefs. I'm like, so what are they selling you for $1,500 a month? Are they link building? No, it's like they're not doing anything. They might have did some on-page optimization, but it's like, and they're just collecting a retainer, and they put them in this contract. Like they're not doing anything, right? So
totally.
So
I 1000% agree. Here, if you're brand new starting, this is the only little caveat I want to say, because I've seen people do this, is one issue that I think slowed me down and made me lose a lot of money is I thought I had to find this really like a cactus removal type of niche, which I've actually only done one website in because there's not a lot of markets that can sustain cactus removal. So I was under the impression you had to find a cactus removal type of thing to really make a ton of money, which so I tried all these different niches. I was in this and I was in that and I was in this. And finally in 2020, when I actually scaled up, I had this thought, I'm like, why don't I just, you have to get the niche right. You have to get the city right. So why don't I just eliminate the niche part and go into tried and true niches that I know work? And then I can just focus and hone in my city selection process. So my opinion is, if you don't have a deal, you're not at 5, 10K yet, or you're just starting, do yourself a favor and eliminate half the battle. Go into a tried and true niche and focus on finding the right city. Once you start to get some money and some revenue coming in, quit your job, whatever, then we can start testing this stuff out. Because I think people get discouraged because they test out, oh, my uncle does insurance. My cousin's an accountant. These niches, although they might work to some degree, they're not good for this business model. So anyway, love it, dude. What's the biggest mistake people need to avoid when getting into rank and rent?
I would say launching too many sites at once, not being focused on a niche. And even if you are focused on a niche, like I would not go out and just build. I see people, I'm just going to build 50 sites, right? It's like, for what, right? Like you're going to build 50 sites. It's like, let's get your skill. Again, it comes down to selling. You could have 50 sites. If you're not selling, you're not making money. So there's people that have one site and they're making money off that site. There's people that have 50 sites and they're not making anything because all they think about is like, let me just launch a new site. And I think you brought it up before. You could be ranking on page one, calls could be coming in, but if you're not selling, you're not making any money. So I think that's a big mistake.
If you have, I don't care if you have 50 sites producing 20 leads each, you have a hobby until you have a business owner paying.
Yeah.
You have a hobby. That's just the reality. As much as someone's listening right now going, oh, you're just such a dick, Nick. But it's the truth, man. It's like, dude, if I'm going to do an expensive hobby, bro, let's go golfing or do something, right? Like, so I agree, man. I had the same advice. I got in and people were like, the opposite advice of what you just gave is what I mean is just keep building, just keep building, just keep building, just keep building, just keep building. So I'm like, oh, I guess I'm just going to keep building. Before you know it, my tracking phone number bill is high. My hosting bill is high. All this stuff. And I'm like, I'm not making any money. It's just expense, it's overhead. And so you don't, I think you could build a couple, but like focus on getting the deal, focus on getting that one. And that's why I think everyone found it refreshing when I came out and started talking so much about sales is like a lot of programs, a lot of people, it's all about the build, which is a crucial component. But like at the end of the day, I'd rather have a deal and not know how to build and have to go find somebody to do it for me than to know how to build and not be able to get a client, because there's a laundry list of people that will build your website, that will do your SEO, but there's not a laundry list, or there's not a mile long list of people that will do sales for you or that know how. So just my thought.
No, I totally agree. Again, and having, I think success leaves footprints. So having a system in place, sales is a serious skill, and having a proven system in place and something to follow just makes it that much easier, right? And there's a lot of people that are afraid to jump on a call. You kind of got to break through that. You need a lot of repetition, but that's where the money's made. And if you're doing it every day, I can actually guarantee you're going to make money. If you're selling every day, you're going to make money. Somebody's going to give you money, right? Like it's just, most people are not making those calls, right? It's a scary thing for some people, but you got to break through that. And I think if they future pace and they think, like, what would it be like to have an extra 5K a month? You're going to get there. If you actually make calls every single day, you will get there, but you have to do the calls every day, right?
I have nothing to say, because I've been saying that for how long. It's like you figure out where you want to go, you create the map to get there, and then you do what needs to be done when it needs to be done, regardless of how you feel. And you can literally go anywhere. You can make any amount of money. You can build any life you want. And the problem is people, they dream the dream. Maybe they'll even create the map, but they do things when they feel like it. But when they don't feel like it, the difference between people that are way further ahead and those that aren't is the ones way further ahead, whether they feel tired, whether they feel depressed, whether they feel whatever, they still do those reps, whether it's content, whether it's backlinks, whether it's the calls. That's it, man. That's the whole thing. So that's facts, dude. I like that future pace where you want to be, and just go do it, dude. So why aren't more people doing rank and rent? Yeah, I remember when I first discovered the model, I was so pumped on it. I heard a podcast and it just clicked. I was like, man, this is like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but like digital, And I couldn't quit. I'd listen to that podcast like 3 times. And this is, meanwhile, I'm knocking doors for a living. So I'm like, what would it be like to be able to sit at my computer and, everything that I'm doing now, which is really cool because I didn't think this was possible. But I listened to this podcast like 3 times and I was hooked, man. And I just kept consuming content, eventually got a course. And then, here we are. 7 years later, but like, why aren't more people doing it? Is it because they just don't know about it, or because they don't like, what are your thoughts on that?
I think there's two things. I think it's surprising that a lot of people actually don't know about it. Like it's pretty surprising to me. And it's like with anything, like we're so aware of it that we don't think, from an outsider's perspective, like what is out there to make money online. And then that's where it gets funneled out, is because when someone's looking to make money online, they go online, they'll type that in, and they're not aware of that. And there's so many other things, right?
Mhm.
Everybody's selling you something. They're selling you drop shipping, Amazon FBA, affiliate marketing, YouTube. It's an endless. Now, like the big thing is have a YouTube channel, don't show your face, make money, right? Like there's so many distractions
Wait, you have a
that,
YouTube channel and don't show your face?
yeah, that's the new thing.
Is that where
So
you chop up people's clips and kind of thing?
probably it's like YouTube automation. I'm seeing like these ads everywhere. It's like
Oh,
YouTube automation, right? So it's a new hype. It's like it's like drop shipping was a hype. That's the hype. Amazon FBA. So I think there's
okay.
just too many distractions. Too many distractions.
Second one though, you said there was two. Is that did you mention both, or was there?
Well, one, they're not aware, and
Okay,
two,
second
there's just too
distraction.
many
Okay.
distractions.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think, like we talked about, we're in this little tiny corner of the internet. Imagine, let's say that the total amount of people that are aware of this is like 100,000 people, right? It's like, which I don't even know if that's even close, if it's way more, way less, but it's so niche. The fact that somebody that's been doing SEO for 6 years commented on one of my videos this week and said, I've never thought about it like this, goes to show you that it's undiscovered. It's the hidden gem of the internet, if you will. And I've said this, guys, we are in a moment in time where the getting is so good. I can't believe people aren't building more properties at the amount that it costs, the competition level, because there will come a day when I don't think it's going to be saturated like a drop shipping, and there's still going to be possibilities, but we're going to look back and go, man, imagine what I could have done, 5 years ago. And I think it's just going to take one big name to realize how good this is and to start talking about it. And the internet's going to be on fire with this business model. And so, yeah, it's fascinating. But anyway, it's just have you ever told somebody about Rank and Rent that says, yeah, it's a stupid idea? I haven't.
No, I love it. And I also, the way I explain, I call it digital real estate. So they're like, that's genius. You're right. Like it's not a physical piece of real estate, but it's digital and it lives there and you own that. And it's like you're collecting rent. And
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah. So
how could you not love that?
Yeah, it's such a sexy kind of like idea, and it's amazing. Okay, one or two more questions, and let's let you get back, dude. I know what did you got planned today? You're gonna go out on what are you gonna do? Go out on the lake, or what was it?
Tomorrow, actually, we're gonna do the boat. Today, there was planned for today, but I don't know
You're the
about the
man. You're
weather
the man.
holding up.
Thanks for making this happen. Okay. What is your current thoughts on what's your thoughts on the current state of GMB or GBP or whatever it's called by the time this even comes out? What are your current thoughts on it?
I think that me personally, I think the GMB is one of the most important pieces of the SEO strategy. And without it, I've had sites ranking #1. For an example, you could go type in Lubbock Roofing Contractor. I think I'm ranking #1 for that. When we got our GMB suspended, we lost like 90% of the calls, right? So
Oh,
I think it's so important, the GMB. For me personally, I think just looking at data and looking at sites that have the GMB and that lost the GMB, I see a huge decrease in phone calls coming in. Now, it's a difficult thing, but there's always a solution. Listen, we don't own Google, right? We're playing on Google's turf. And if we sit there and just give up because, oh, they got a new algorithm update or they're doing this, it's all right. You could give up. There's plenty of people that gave up. Listen, I've been through many algorithm updates. I know plenty of people that got out of SEO because of it. But guess what? I kept going, and you just reinvent the system. And there's solutions there. You get more resourceful. You get into new courses. Maybe someone figured something out, right? It's just being resourceful. There's going to be a solution.
yeah. There's two ways to look at it. You can either look at something like GMB or whatever, again, I can say, is it called GBP? I think it's GBP right
Yeah,
now.
Google Business Profile now.
Good night. Come on, Larry and Sergey, can you help us out, man? Keep changing it on us. You can look at it as, oh man, another reason why this isn't going to work. And I knew this was too good to be true. Or you can approach it as, all right, this is an opportunity. If it's a problem for me, it must be a problem for thousands, if not tens of thousands, not millions of other people. And if I can figure out a creative solution, well, that's going to be worth something, and that's going to be worth a lot because everyone's going to want it. So I totally agree with you on that piece. Now, I've had a different experience and disagree a little bit with you, but I think it has to do with the niches that I've been in, because I didn't know how to get GMBs for like the first 2 years when I really started in this business. And so I was just doing organic rankings and selling sites for 1,000, 1,500, 2,000. Now, I can't disagree with you and say that when you do get a GMB ranked, you get leads 100%. But I've still, even at those periods of time, I was able to land deals and have completely happy customers because I set proper expectations. But I do think it depends on the niche, because there are certain niches where having a Google My Business, that is where people stop. You know what I mean? Like they go to the top of Google, they see that, boom, 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 and then that's it, right? There's other businesses where I think they do more research. So I think it's a little bit niche dependent, and also like just kind of a different experience. But I will not deny or say there's not a lot of leads that can come from Google My Business. Here's why I think that it hasn't, like this whole thing that's happening, whatever, it hasn't affected me, because there's 3 parts of Google. You have the ads, you have the local, and then you have the organic, right? Well, if I got I got ads running because I know how to run ads. I got Google My Business, and then I got organic. If I lose Google My Business, I still have the other 2 pieces of the 3 legs. And so if you're somebody that's only relying on one, that could be very, very scary. So anyway, it's interesting thoughts. Have you found any creative solutions? You don't need to tell us what, because that's the secret sauce, but have you found any creative solutions for verifying now that they're way more onto, hey, let's do the phone verification, et cetera, et cetera?
No, there's services out there. I spent thousands of dollars testing different things out. Honestly, you got to be aware, even if they say it's going to come up, like they're going to get suspended most likely, to be honest with you. And I think it is niche specific too. So if you're going into something competitive and that's kind of on Google's, I call it like the red flag list, you're probably most likely going to have to send a video in, prove it. And maybe if you're taking this serious, like a business, maybe actually start a real business out of it, right? Like you might have to I mean, I don't know how it works in other states, but there's a way to you can get a quick business registration with that name. If you're doing Austin Concrete, right, you might have to just register that business name, have proof of documentation to send in. And again, if a lot of times if you communicate back and forth with Google, they're making it tougher, don't get me wrong, but they just want to see proof, and then sometimes they'll slip it through, right? Again, if you're in a specific niche, it's very hard. Like restoration, very hard. I can tell you that. Locksmith, very hard, right? Like they're on top of it. Like they want to see proof. So there is no magic solution to it. You just have to think like as if it's a real business, and it should be treated like that, because if you're going to make even $1,000 a month recurring from it, it's probably worth it.
Figuring out, yeah. We're trying all kinds of stuff. I'm like you, like I've tested out some services. In fact, we got a couple different techniques that we've come up with. Some of my students have come up with that I'm like, okay, it's worked, but we got like, before I'm going to take it to my students, I got to make sure it works again and again and again, and make sure that's not going to just get suspended. But you know what? I take that challenge. I kind of get a little bit of energy off of that challenge. Like every time something like this happens, it's going to push a certain amount of people out of the market that are my competitors. So, it's the same thing. You remember when it was like the only thing people could talk about when to me, it seemed like when I started talking about ads, I'm sure it wasn't just me, but when I started talking about running ads and everything, and then people are like, well, but everyone's getting suspended. And then it's like, okay, well, let's find some solutions. And we worked through it. And I actually have a full-time guy that just deals with ads and ad suspensions into my group, and he helps everybody. And dude, that magically was just something that we figured out and we solved. So guys, don't get discouraged. It's like anything else. Let's say we had let's say that James and I were here and we were talking and hyping up how good it is to start tanning salons or Jimmy John's. And let's say Jimmy John's, and all of a sudden the FDA came out with some new thing that's getting whatever. There's always going to be something, and that's business, man. So those of us that are problem solvers, you know, we're gonna come out on top. So, James, where if people, guys, and by the way, this is what I love about me and James is like we're both just trying to help each other. He does stuff a lot differently than me. And I think that there's certain people watching this that James and his approach and his style and his, you know, charisma is a much better fit for you. He's not screaming at the camera all the time. And maybe some of you that are following James are like, oh, this Nick guy, I like the energy. So there's room for everybody. That's what I told James the first time we talked. And I was like, dude, I just want to find out what you're trying to do. And I can help you. You can help me. So James, if people want to check out more of your stuff, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, if they just go to YouTube and type in James Cook, they'll find a bunch of my videos. I've been focused on other things right now, so I haven't uploaded in a while, but there's still
You have some really good ranking
videos.
Content videos, some really good ranking videos though.
Yeah, so a lot of that content still gets a lot of views, and I get messages all the time. There's some good tutorials that still are relevant, like going over Google business optimization and stuff. So there's some good content on there. That's where they can find.
Is there anything else that like for people that maybe they hear this or like regular, that's not their thing? Is there any other things that you're talking about heavily on the channel that they could check out? Are you talking anything about affiliate or anything like that, or are you mainly just kind of focusing on affiliate?
So My Media Pal, we do blog about a bunch of different things when it comes to starting an online business and the skill of SEO.
Okay.
So they could check that out as well, but mostly focused, I think top two business models are for me that I tell people is rank and rent, and then also the approach of affiliate marketing.
Amazing. Go to YouTube. You guys type in his name, and you're gonna just start looking for these thumbnails with this model looking guy, dude. It's awesome, bro. Yeah. Didn't you used to do modeling?
Yeah, many moons ago.
That's not a knock. I think it's dope, dude. I think it's dope. And I even said that to you. I'm like, bro, this is getting some model vibes. You're like, well, I actually used to do a little bit. So anyway, you'll know what I'm talking about when you look at the video. So, dude, thanks for hopping on, man.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you having me, man.
When I get back to the States, I'm gonna be traveling back. Let's link up, have a proper phone call. But I appreciate you hopping on. And anybody that wants to check James' stuff out, go check it out. It's not going to take anything away from me. For everyone that's listening, thank you guys for being on another episode of The Dre Show. I'm out.